I'm a hole!
What's up, Merlings? This is a Druzy of a video on how I renewed my old tail, the first one I ever made in 2017, Druzy. I'm going to show you how I repaired, repainted, and replaced the monofin to make a new to me tail that will last for years. After, we will go over its completion and review how it holds up in the water. We're going to start with going over replacing the monofin, how to open up the tail, and also a couple of other problem areas I'm going to show you that I'm going to be tackling. I have already separated the two halves of the fluke. Some of it was actually really easy to do. I didn't even need to cut it. It just came apart really smoothly. All I had to do was just pull it, and it just started coming apart. Which is, you know, just pretty disconcerting, but at the same time, it held up without coming apart while I was using it. I just thought it was interesting that all I had to do was pull on it here and it just came apart. I don't make my tails like this anymore, so I don't think this will be a problem for any of my tails that I make. Past this one, this was my first tail. But then, after a while, it was sticking quite a bit and I had to actually saw it with an X-Acto knife. So this was cut, and there's the edge of the monofin there. This was cut with a blade. I just gently dragged the blade down every couple of millimeters here, just to gently open it up, and it did cut it open through the middle. There were a few areas that got pretty thin, and if you're doing this with your own tail, you got to be really careful that you don't cut through the fluke, the side of the fluke, because then you'll have a hole to patch. So basically I just took a sharp blade and I just cut it like this while peeling it back slowly, kind of like this, until I got it all the way opened up. And this is the monofin that was in there that I did in 2017. So I'm just gonna pull this out and show you what has happened to the foot pockets of this Finis Rapid. So I tried to wear this tail and I just could not get my feet in. I think there was a time when I got my feet in, but it was really painful and I was wondering what the heck was going on, like it was crushing my feet. And then I had this stored on a tail hanger, where the kind of hanger where you have metal prongs that go up the foot pockets and you basically hang your tail like that. And you can see what it did. It really warped these foot pockets quite a bit. So I don't recommend storing a tail like that. Now, I did make some boo-boos while I was cutting the fluke open. I did go through the top of the tail a few times. So I've just basically put a little band-aid on the area on the inside here. A little bit of power mesh with some silicone, not silpoxy. I'm not using silpoxy at this point. And it patched up the hole pretty well. You can't really see where I cut through anymore, which is great. The monofin that I am replacing the Rapid with is a new Finis shooter. I have already glued nylon fabric, sorry, not nylon fabric, it's like a thick 1 millimeter thick polyester. I glue this polyester with plumbing glue to the top and the back of the monofin, and then it grabs hold of the silicone and hangs on to the silicone on the blade so that it doesn't billow out while I swim. And as you can see, it's the extra large, or just the XXL, the biggest monofin foot pockets they make, because I got big feet and I got big ankles, and this is the only one that I can fit. that is a affordable, flat, professionally made blade. So I'm not going to go into detail on how I glued the new monofin in because I already have a video specifically about that. Just click the link in the description and it'll take you right there. Repair job that needs to be done before she can be used again is this hole here. It was right on the heel, but we've actually flipped the tail over, and this hole is now going to be like on top of the ankle, but we need to patch that so it doesn't get any bigger. Now, because this tail is old, I have to use a few chemicals to really thoroughly clean the area that I'm patching up and to help the new silicone bond to the old silicone. So I'm going to be using acetone to wipe the area to really clean off any like residual coconut oil or other oils I've been using as a lubricant on my legs, because the silicone, you can wash it, but sometimes it still stays on the silicone. I'm going to be using alcohol to clean it even more. I'm going to prime the area both with naphtha, and naphtha is literally Coleman camp fuel. And then I'm going to brush on another primer that I like to use on old silicone called Inhibit X. And Inhibit X, I've been told, so this is a smooth-on product, and I've been told that it will open up, or it adds more platinum to the silicone, which allows old silicone to bond to new silicone. So it's in liquid form, and I just brush it on before I apply any new silicone to the area. Because of all these chemicals, I am working in a ventilated studio that a lot of fresh air is pumped in and a lot of studio air is blown out. I also wear a gas mask with organic vapor filters, and I'll be wearing some face goggles over my eyes to protect my eyes. Just so you know, I am working safely in the studio. Rubber gloves are also worn. I'm not contacting any of these chemicals with my skin. So I have some silicone pieces. These are also going to be cleaned and primed with Inhibit X before I apply them to the tail. I'm going to use these as patches to fill up a couple of other holes. I've added a new waistband because this tail was my first tail and I didn't make it long enough. So I've added a waistband here, but I'm gonna continue to blend this in so that this isn't a harsh line here. It's going to be blended with some thick silicone. This was a problem area. I had to clip it off, but now there's a hole here. But I'm going to cover that. So there's gonna be a patch inside, and then I'm gonna cover it with these little scales here. And the whole tail is being repainted, so I'm not going to worry about them not matching right now. So that's what those little scales are for. I've already gone around and trimmed up, like, I had to retrim all the edges of these because, again, it was my very first project and I could have done a better job. So she's got these fins that I make called Erato. They have a few boo-boos on them as well. Here's a little split I'm going to be fixing. These little guys could use some patchwork like underneath where they've been attached. I can fill that with silicone to make that look much nicer. Now, let's get started on that heel hole. So while I was cleaning the area I was going to repair on the old heels, I discovered that the paint I touched up more than a year ago actually never cured and was coming off, and that shouldn't happen at all. I figured out it was a problem I've recently discovered that I've made a whole other video on. It's really interesting stuff. It basically has to do with how other rubbers can contaminate silicone. So click the link in the description to that video on how to cope with this problem and fix it. Alright, so after tackling that whole cure inhibition problem, now we're just going to clean and prep the area. So my system is first with acetone, cleaning any oils off of the silicone at all. Then the area is prepped with naphtha. I'm going to cut out a little piece of silicone here that's going to be pinned underneath to patch the hole. So anywhere we're gluing fresh silicone to old silicone, you want to clean everything with naphtha, and then I'm gonna prime it with Inhibit X. Inhibit X does need to dry for a little bit. I give it about 10 to 15 minutes. Then Silpoxy is applied to the little piece of silicone here, just to that little guy. Just a little bit, you don't need a lot, because the thicker Silpoxy is, the longer it takes to cure, and you don't need a lot when you're attaching silicone to silicone. Just a note, Silpoxy needs fresh air to fully cure, so I've propped up the middle of the tail here just to make sure there was airflow going inside and out, just to make sure that that Silpoxy did fully cure. Now we're going to work on the scales I'm adding to the waist area. Again, once again, cleaning with acetone, cleaning with naphtha, prepping the area with Inhibit X. I just sped this up because no one needs to watch me for 4 hours clean a tail. It is a lot of prep work, but the prep work really pays off. It makes sure that the silicone, the fresh silicone you're using to glue your repairs onto actually bonds to the old stuff. Smooth On says that after about 7 days, silicone has a hard time bonding with other silicone. However, with the application of naphtha and Inhibit X, you can reactivate the platinum. That's what Smooth On says, and you should be able to bond old silicone to old silicone. So once that's cured, all the pins that have been used to keep things in place can be removed. Got to be really careful not to stab yourself. I stab myself all the time in the studio. It's hilarious. It's not hilarious, it's painful. Don't laugh at me. All right, this tail is now ready to be repainted. I have filled in all the little holes, cuts, scrapes, and reinforced areas that were problematic. I did have an issue with some of the new silicone I used sticking to the old. Now, what I think the problem was that I brush on Inhibit X to help it bond better, but if that Inhibit X isn't fully evaporated, it does inhibit cure. So I did have some areas that were uncured and sticky, and all I could do really was I just touched it up with a bit of Silpoxy. It was mainly areas where the paint was, or sorry, where the glue was really thin. I just rubbed a bit of Silpoxy on it, and that seems to have done the job now. There are no sticky, uncured areas that I can feel anymore. So now, when she goes in for painting, I'm going to be wiping down the whole tail with naphtha to thoroughly clean it. I just soak a microfiber cloth with naphtha, and that does the trick. And then I'm going to be painting a base coat of dark purple on the fluke, so that no light shines through the fluke anymore, like I'm putting down an opaque layer. I've had problems with the monofin being visible, shining with when the sunlight shines through the fluke, and that's always really bothered me. So hopefully the layer of dark purple will stop sun from shining right through it. We'll see. It might not actually work, but we gotta do it anyways. And then the whole tail is gonna get a light teal tone, and then I'll be filling it in with colors. Druzy is going to still be these colors. I'm just gonna do a better paint job and give her some fresh paint, because as you can see, she's seen some stuff in her life. Hey, so I have also already done a how to paint silicone video, link in the description, and we're gonna go over next now on her final look and how I like it. Hey everyone, good evening. This is the finished tail. This is how she looks. I think she turned out great. I'm going to show you some video of her performing in the water as well. I made myself a new top. This was all extra pieces and scrap that I actually had hanging around the studio for quite a while. I just decided, you know, it's been a long time. I don't have my own silicone top that actually fits me, so I put one together for myself, and she looks great. I love it. The first thing I did when I was painting this tail is I put down a thick layer of just diluted Silpoxy. That helped it bond all the other layers of paint onto the old paint. It's actually really tricky to get really old Psycho paint bonding with fresh stuff on top, but the layer of teal Silpoxy helped a lot with the bondage. Here's the area where the hole was, and you know what? I can't even tell where it was now. Patch job worked so well. Oh, that might be it right there. That might be where it is. But as you can see, there's no hole anymore. What I saw earlier was this here, and I'm not sure if that's my silicone job coming apart, like the fresh one, but you know what, if that tears off anymore, I'm just going to use Silpoxy to fix it. I use Dragon Skin to do all the repairs on the tail, not Silpoxy, so I'm going to use, so if it starts coming off, I'm just going to go over it again with Silpoxy, and that should do it up just fine. Overall, this tail feels like a brand new tail. I did add a new dorsal to it, which is quite heavy. It did make the tail actually heavier than she used to be, but in the water, I feel like the tail is more streamlined and hydrodynamic, mainly because the Monofin Replacement really helped prevent the tail from ballooning out like it used to. So now there's no longer like water being scooped into the tail because my waistline didn't fit properly, and then ballooning in the bottom of the fluke. She really feels much better now. Also, turning her over and putting the monofin in the right way, how it was supposed to be, actually made her fit much better. Because I'm going to admit, I actually made this tail upside down originally back in 2017, but now she's looking and feeling so much better. She feels like a brand new tail. Thank you so much for watching this very long video. Thank you to my patrons. Here they are here, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye! Hey there, Merlings, Amathea here. Did you know I have a Patreon? Pick your membership level and be rewarded with tail making tutorials, behind the scenes, studio tours, priority ordering, and more. Patreon.com/Amathea. Your support helps me make videos like these.